Hello, my name is Geogen and welcome back to World of Tanks. I was on the 9.17 test server and of course the Swedish vehicles take precedent for, look, it's shiny and new. So I'm looking at the Strv 103B, the new or the upcoming tier 10 Swedish tank destroyer, and it is a very, very novel and interesting vehicle for several reasons. Now, the first reason is the distinct shape of it. Just look at the low profile, and the front slope is incredible. I'm not sure the actual angle, but it is 40mm thick, I believe. But regardless, that plate provides extreme amount of protection against pretty much any round that I have faced, other than high explosive and probably Hesh, although I haven't actually been hit by Hesh yet. The other feature is the fact that the tracks are hydropneumatic. As you can see here, you have to stop for a couple of seconds, and then the tank becomes much more slow and less mobile and maneuverable, but the rear end of the vehicle can elevate, and therefore the front of the vehicle depresses, so you can hide your weak lower half of the tank and then just bounce loads and loads of rounds from that incredible slope of 40mm. And as you saw there, bouncing an artillery shell from the 261, which would have been an AP round. I do get hit by artillery later on, obviously, with normal ammunition, but this kind of map here, 11 degrees of gun depression at most when in siege mode, as they call it, and, well, the vehicle is very good. It does take a little time to get used to the fact that this system, this system is quite new, but you can see here a Grill 15, we're just penetrating very easily. Obviously the gun is also quite interesting because it's a 105mm gun, and 105mm guns, balls don't shut up, but never mind. 105mm guns don't really see their place at tier 10. There I got penned below the heat grid in the lower plate, so it isn't completely infallible from the front, but the upper slope is very good. Anyway, 105mm gun, 390 average damage, 308 penetration with standard rounds, 350 with gold APCR rounds, and 53 penetration with HE. But 308 penetration is very high for a 105mm gun, and it's more than enough to deal with pretty much any target in most places. Side armor, very bad. You can see there's the tank in its full depressed mode, but very good gun characteristics. But obviously that's the Kranvan. I'm not Swedish, I don't know how to pronounce various terms, but we get taken down there, so we'll move on to the next bit of gameplay. So as I was saying about the gun, it is low damage but high rate of fire, and the rate of fire increases when you're in siege mode, as does your aim time and your accuracy. You can fire the gun when you're in travelling mode, as you can see here, travelling mode up to 50 km an hour, top speed, very good. But your gun handling is very bad, and additionally your gun is fixed. It cannot move without the movement of the tracks. So if you get tracked in this vehicle, you're screwed, as it's a true casemate destroyer in that sense, where there is no traverse at all. And it does take you a couple of seconds to change from travel to siege and siege to travel, as you can see. So you may have to plan your movements in advance. This vehicle is not very friendly for new players, I imagine, but it also, unfortunately, has some weaknesses in its armour. There's another 103B, and you can see I penetrated him in his upper plate, where his cupola is. There is also one other weakness to the front left and the front right of the armour just behind the heat grid. That is where there's these little two blocks which are quite flat. I get penned later on in this replay. But for the meantime, the low silhouette, the good gun, and handling of the gun in this mode makes this tank very, very good at just, you know, pumping round after round after round to various tanks. Like that 30B there. Straight through his turret, obviously it's a French medium tank, they don't really have great armour, but straight through, no problem. There's a Object 140. Good turret, front armour, obviously poor roof armour, but we just went straight through the front of the turret, just next to the gun where the front of the turret is flattest. So we didn't even need a APCR, gold APCR round. I'm struggling to find a weakness in the Kranvan tier 10 Swedish heavy tank front turret armour. I don't think there actually is one, so you have to hit that thing from the side and rear, and that tank has very poor side and rear armour, as you might expect. Pretty much all the Swedish vehicles have very poor armour, or mediocre armour at best. It's all about, in my experience anyway, with the top of the line as well as the middle tiers which I've played, they have good gun depression, really exceptionally good gun depression, up to minus 15 degrees on certain vehicles. Not this vehicle, minus 11, but that is still very good. And the Kranvan tier 10 tank, heavy tank, has, I believe, minus 12. The Emil 1 and 2 have minus 15 though, and at tier 8 and 9 that's going to be quite nice to see. A lot of people feel maybe that their AMX 50B is a bit irrelevant in terms of its size, firepower and mobility, because the Kranvan is very fast, but I think there's some subtle differences in the gun characteristics to make that vehicle still playable. I don't know, I've not played a 50B yet. Got it unlocked, just haven't bought it. Anyway, the Strv 103B, that was a poor shot against our counterpart at long range, but the aim time is relatively good. I believe it's probably like 1.5 to 2 seconds at most. He turns to the side, he sees a target obviously, and we pump one final shot into him. Of course, as we have APCR rounds as standard as well as the premium, the shells fire quite quickly. You don't need to lead the target too much, and that's good because it does take you a long time to traverse the vehicle when you're in siege mode. This vehicle is not good at aggressive plays when you have the best DPM, best accuracy, best aim time, etc. This vehicle is very good at static fortification defenses. I mean, the damage of the gun is only 390, which means you can't pop up from a ridgeline, then pump in 750 damage, say like a Grill 15, then run away, and that's kind of somewhat disappointing. But this vehicle, I believe, will be quite popular and add something new to the game mechanics. So game mechanics wise, we have autoloaders, conventional rounds, and that deployment time there really cost me my health, but we can just pump shots into that Jagdpanzer 100, which is pretty much obsolete at tier 10 now, as it's too slow and too just too cumbersome. But yeah, we have standard rounds, you know, one shot reload, then we have autoloaders, and now we have autoloading artillery obviously, and this with its suspension. So it's a new mechanic alongside, say, physics. I think it will be well received. I'm not sure about the hyper penetration of some of the rounds, but then again, tier 10 tank destroyers. A lot of people were saying that tier 8, I think it's called the UDES, at tier 8, which is like a predecessor or a prototype for these Strv 103s, has 288 APCR pen as standard at tier 8, and has a good rate of fire and 390 average damage. It's pretty good. So we'll have to see how the vehicles from the test server remain or change before they go onto the live server, but it is nice to see some new content in the game, and I think I will be playing this line, maybe not straight away. I'm also quite interested in the hybrid light, medium and heavy line, especially the Emil 1, 2 and Kranvan. Anyway, that was my first sort of look at the Strv 103. You've probably seen videos on this before, but if you got to the end, well, thanks for watching. And as always, tell me your thoughts down below. I've been Geogen, and I'll see you chaps and chapettes in the next one.